Back from the Plano Center at the PrimeTime Sports National Championship Expo, Josh Haley with Tyler Jones, and a real treat here as we get to chat with former Heisman Trophy winner and 9-time Pro Bowl selection Tim Brown. Tim, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
You know, Tim, to have so many young people here who are prospering athletes, this tournament will bring over 800 teams here, and I know for some of these youngsters to see the look on their faces when they get to meet you, when they got to play one-on-one with Donald Sloan, an NBA player.
Sure.
It's a moment that they'll never forget. Is there a lasting moment in your youth that you had that really made you want to continue on the path of professional sports?
Well, you know, for me, sports back in the day was something to do. I mean, I didn't do it thinking that I would end up in the NFL or anything of that nature. In fact, I thought I was a basketball player. I mean, I dreamt about playing in the NBA more than I ever thought about playing football. So, you know, to me, to get out the house and be able to do stuff on a day-to-day basis was what it was all about, man. So I was just one of those fortunate ones that ended up in a position that I could turn what I love to do into a life, you know.
Tim, tell me who were your idols? Who were the guys you looked up to in sports?
Well, you know, I grew up here in Dallas. You know, At that time it was you know, the Dallas Maverick guys. It was Tony Dorsett. Unfortunately, we lost Robert Newhouse yesterday, who was a big guy who I looked up to. Obviously, Roger Staubach, and I was just a Cowboy nut, man. You know, so for me, or a Dallas sports nut, I should say. So anybody who played sports during that time, I loved them, and I used to listen to baseball games. Not watch, but listen to baseball games on the radio. And every time I can sneak in a Dallas Maverick game, that would happen. And it was always hard for me to go to Cowboy games because they played on Sundays, and my mama wasn't playing that. I had to go to church. So, I love the Cowboys growing up. Tony Dorsett obviously was one of the big guys. Drew Pearson and Tony Hill.
You mentioned being more of a basketball guy as you grew up rather than football. What was it that kind of swayed your decision and steered you towards football? Did you just see yourself prospering in that more?
Well, you know, when recruiting time came, I got an invitation from one school for basketball, and it was some small school in Kansas. It wasn't the University of Kansas, I can tell you that. So when I compared that to the University of Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Nebraska, and everybody that was after me for football, it was pretty clear what my choice was going to be. So to be honest, I was a little disappointed because I thought I was a really nice point guard, man. I couldn't shoot, but I could play great defense and I could dunk a basketball. So I brought excitement to the game, but I guess they were looking for a little bit more.
So it's more like football chose you instead of.
Yeah, it really did because I mean, I love football and I played it, you know, hard every time I hit the field. But at the same time, you know, I want to be a basketball. It was something about dunking a basketball, man, that excited me a lot more than scoring a touchdown.
Tell me about playing at Notre Dame under Dr. Lou Holtz. What was that experience like?
Well, you know, I was recruited by Jerry Faust, so I played 2 years with Faust. And when Lou came in, it was amazing. You know, for me, again, you know, I went to the University of Notre Dame for one reason. That was to get a degree, get an education, come back here. I was going to marry my high school sweetheart, have 6 kids, be a deacon in the church. I had it all laid out. And after 2 days of spring ball practice, Lou pulled me over and told me he thought I could be the best player in the country. And I thought he had lost his mind. You know, I was like, dude, come on. I mean, I was barely playing. I was playing enough to be happy, but I wasn't the man at Notre Dame at that time. So I was trying to be the best receiver on the team, and then here he is telling me that he thinks I could be the best player in the country. So it took me a couple of weeks to really believe it. And but once I got it inside of me that I could be better than what I was, never thinking I would be the Heisman Trophy winner, I started to work that way and act that way and talk that way, and it just all worked out for me.
Having exceptional talent, Tim, is one thing, but to mix that with durability is a totally another thing. And when you look at the NFL, the average career span for a player, it being so short, how on earth were you able to not only stay in the NFL for 16 years, but be as productive as you were?
Well, you know, I honestly tell people that I probably played in about 10 games that I shouldn't have played in, and probably practiced about 100 times where I shouldn't have practiced. But in effort of trying to be a leader and really trying to be everything you wanted to be for the team, you played and you practiced probably when you weren't supposed to. But for me, I think taking care of myself and doing the right things during the football season, people knew that when it was football season, it was all about football season. It wasn't no business. I wasn't talking business with anybody. I wasn't doing anything. It was all about, hey, what do I have to do to be ready for practice and to be ready for that game next week? So, and I think that just sort of helped me out. In the off season, I took care of myself. I never drank, never partied, shouldn't say never partied. When I was younger, I partied a little bit, but never put illegal stuff in my system. So I knew my body would respond if I just gave it a rest and worked it out properly, and it just all worked out, man. So 16 years with the Raiders, 1 year with Tampa Bay, and we were able to stay on the field and do what we need to do.
And with health and wellness being one of the major themes of this expo here, what message would you have for some of these younger guys in how important it is to take care of your body?
Well, it's super important, man. I think that when I talk to young kids of this age, I rarely even talk about their abilities and what they're doing, whether it's basketball, football, because in order to get to the next level, you really have to be lucky. For me, when Notre Dame came to recruit, they didn't come to recruit me. They knew nothing about me. They came to recruit Dante Jones, who ended up going to Oklahoma and playing 10 years for Chicago Bears as a middle linebacker. When they came to recruit him, I had the best game of my career. I scored 4 touchdowns, a punt return, kick return, a long catch, and a long run from scrimmage. I never scored 4 touchdowns again in my career in 27 years of football. So you call that what it is. Call it being blessed, call it being lucky. So, injuries and all that stuff, man. So to be able to make it to the next level, you're going to really have to be lucky. So what you can take care of right now is education and preparing yourself for life after whatever sport you're playing, because you're not going to play 17 years. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to see guys playing that long because the money is too good and guys are going to get away. So when you retire, you're going to be in your early 30s. You got a lot of life to live, hopefully, so you better be prepared to live it. So that's what I would talk to these kids about, man, especially the parents, because the parents are worse than the kids. They see the money signs more so than the kids do. So, I think it's super important for these kids to get an education, man, because whether you have money or not, you're going to need an education once you're done.
So you won the Heisman Trophy before you got to the next level. Tell me about that. Where's the Heisman sit? Is that your house, your parents' house? Where's it at? Right?
It sort of goes back and forth. My mom says it's her Heisman, so I rarely disagree with her, but she allows me to borrow it every once in a while when I need to show it off at my house. So, but yeah, it's at my house, man. It's a moment that I'm super proud of. It's sometimes still hard to believe that you won a award of such magnitude, but at the same time, man, God had a plan, and I think the plan was to put me on a platform so I can reach back and help, and the Heisman certainly helps with that.
Tim, you've had an exceptional road in life. Sports obviously playing a big part of that, but you've got a new book out that just launched this spring. Kind of walk us through that and some of the bigger highlights of that you touched on in your life to this point.
Yeah, The Making of a Man is the name of the book, how men and boys honor God and live with integrity. And basically, what I want to do, I went through some tough times with my father from the time I was 13 till I was 25. But, even though the story is pretty rough, the end of that deal was a moment of forgiveness where I forgave him and he forgave me, and we were able to have a great life together for the next 20 years of his life until he passed away. So I know a lot of young people go through that now where they don't have a relationship with their father or there's something that has been there. So we talk about that. I talk about my time at Notre Dame and the difficulties of trying to adjust from being away from home, and I talk about my time in LA where the women were driving me crazy, and if I almost missed some practices, it was because of the women. It wasn't because of being injured. But I talk about how I got through that, and on through my Raider days where, I decided in my late 20s that I was going to try my best to live by the principles of the Bible and God's principles, and it sort of put me in a different category because people started to look at me and a little differently. But I just wanted people to know that if I can do it, then other folks can do it, and because the Bible says the end of that man is peace, and that's what we're all looking for. So I think for me, this book is really my journey, but it could really be anybody's journey because we all go through something. We all have things that we have to deal with, and my way of going through it and getting out of it was to use the Bible because in the world that I was in, I needed help because I couldn't walk straight in the world that I was in. So this worked out great for me, and the book has done well so far. Hopefully it'll continue to do well as we move on.
That's fantastic to hear. So great about that book of yours. Looking forward to looking more into that. And so your NFL career, your college career is all wrapped up in this. What's some of the things that people might not know about Tim Brown that they're going to learn in this book?
They may learn I play a mean tambourine at church. I think a lot of people, don't realize maybe, the fatherhood part and how, being a father was so important. I was approached by a former, two-time Super Bowl winning running back the other day. I won't call his name, but he told me that, man, I didn't know that an athlete could live a life like this, and that was shocking to me to hear him say that, but I think, we tried to live a life that was honorable, a life of integrity. And I don't think a lot of athletes look at, their position and their ability to be able to do that in hopes of being able to reach back and grab one of these youngsters and putting them in the right direction. So, I think there are going to be a lot of things in the book that's surprising, but there may be more of the spiritual than the natural. When I said I had 3 girls in one day, everybody's going to be like, oh, yeah, we believe that about athletes. We know athletes do that. But when I tell you I never drank alcohol and I stopped cursing when I was 28 years old and hadn't cursed since, a lot of people don't believe that type of stuff. So that may be a couple of things that people find out that they probably didn't know before.
Tim, there's a lot of programs in the United States now that are sports-based that can help kids who maybe not only have issues at home but have no home. How important and instrumental are these things that are going up? You see them everywhere in helping shape and mold these youth's lives.
Well, it's just super important, man, because I would guarantee you probably, 75 to 80% of these kids out here have no clue who their dads are, and that's an unfortunate, statement, but it is what it is. I've had 10 kids that come to my table today, and all of them are telling me, oh, I don't know my dad. One guy was 6'5". I said, man, who's your daddy? He was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? And I didn't mean the question like that, but I was just, trying to ascertain about his height and everything. And so it's just unfortunate, man. And so that means they're growing up without the knowledge of what a father is all about and what a father is supposed to be. I tell people this: having a bad father in your life is better than having no father in your life, because my father he didn't set the perfect example of everything to do, but those things that he did that I didn't like, I love him, I like what he's doing here, but I don't like what he's doing there, so I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. But my father came home every night, he took care of his family, he never argued with my mom. So those qualities I took from him. Now the drinking and the smoking and the cursing, I didn't want those qualities, so I didn't take those. But it's important to have that father around. A lot of these kids don't have him. So these programs that you speak of are hugely important, because it's the only way these kids are going to get any kind of mentorship.
Some of these programs are a great escape for these guys too. You mentioned that they may not have a father or come from rough areas. I mean, this is a great way to get away from that.
Yeah, I mean, for some of these kids, this is how they grow up. The coaches are their dads.
Yeah.
The coaches are not only their coaches, but they're their dads, and they're the ones they look for when they get in trouble. It's a coach that they call. It's not mama, it's not brother, but they call the coach. So these programs, man, are just, amazingly important, especially in the African American and Hispanic neighborhoods. So I just hope that they can just keep going and keep doing what they need to do.
Tim, it's been a privilege to have you here, and I know that there's a lot of excited people to see you here. But before we let you go, tell us and tell our viewers how they can get a copy of your new book.
Oh, you can. The book is in Barnes & Nobles, or you can go to makingofaman.net, and there's a little buy button there where you can buy the button right from that website. You can also read a chapter of the book to get a little taste of what we're talking about, and I hope people check it out. I hate saying it's a great book because it's my book. But
Yeah.
I think it's an important book, especially for young people and for young athletes. And there's some old folks out there who may need the book too. So, but I think anybody who's struggling on how things should be done and what a man really looks like. I'm not saying that man is me,
Right.
but I think we point to things in the book that will show you what a real man looks like.
Well, Tim, you're a great man. We thank you so much for joining us. I'm putting that on my reading list.
There you go.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got some more interviews coming up throughout the day. I'm Tyler Jones. That's Josh Haley. We'll be back. Tim Brown joining us. You're watching the PrimeTime Sports Network, the best game in town.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.